Good evening, everyone. It's Marianne Goldweber, spiritual teacher, professional medium, and owner of a village, personal and spiritual development center, coming to you live tonight from my video podcast called Marianne's House. We're actually on my little meditation place, my little porch. So get your cuppa and join me for a little convo tonight. I had some technical difficulties, and I'm telling you, the shenanigans that are going on social media make this much harder than it should be. So grab your cup and your notebook and join me for a spell. We're just going to sit for a minute. But tonight's topic is prophecies and omens and signs, okay? And, right now we're all in a place of transition and change and doing a lot of forward-moving things. And so the universe is behind the scenes, dropping us hints. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about, is how does that look? How can we notice that more often? How can we get more adept at paying attention to those things when they happen? So it's not something that happens all the time, okay? They're not allowed to make you crazy or, interfere in your free will. But it definitely, these things do happen, and there's a number of ways that they manifest. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up with you guys tonight, so you can understand. One of my favorite movies is with, the one where Jim Carrey's in the movie, okay? And it's where he has a throwdown with God. And so he gets God's powers, And it was funny because he has reached this depth of despair in his life. And he yelled out, send me a sign. Send me a sign, And this truck filled with actual traffic signs kind of runs him off the road, And, that's kind of how it works. So the challenge is we're not always paying attention. We're grinding along, and we really don't take the time to pay attention to the things that are going on around us. But the fun part about those things is they happen very what you might call coincidentally, okay, but they're not coincidences. And quite often they repeat, okay? It'll repeat in a number of different ways from a number of different directions. So I kind of wanted to just break that out a little bit tonight. So the interesting thing about words, okay, so prophecies are actually foretelling of future events by some person who received a vision or had some divine communication that they were inspired to share with other people. One of the most famous of the prophecies in our history are actually from the Hopi prophecy, okay? Now, this was done thousands of years ago, and it talks of a time where the roads in our world will converge, and mankind is going to have to pick a path. The crooked trail, which, again, this is where we're going to talk about signs and symbolism, the crooked trail to nothingness, or we're going to go up and the road to plenty. And so a lot of holy people have, in that culture, have talked about the prophecy and what that means in our waking world. So that's a prophecy. That's something that, but again, they come to someone, and I received a prophecy, okay, early on in doing this vocation. And what they shared with me, they being, the divinity that I listen to, especially like when I'm working with people, is that the people are going to be awakening because the systems are not going to be working, and they don't have a lot of ancestral ties. Okay, so I talked about this in my last video, and I don't want to repeat myself, but most of us are so far away from our indigenous cultures, because we've migrated and immigrated to other places. So we don't have that same ancestral heritage or lineage that passed on these wisdoms to us. And so we're awakening, and we don't have those tools of understanding to help us navigate through and around what's going on in this time of our world. So anyway, so that's what they shared with me. I've shared that before, but it was about creating a village or bringing people together because they were going to be separate and lost and afraid. So I've seen a lot of those things in the last 30 years come to fruition. And not all at once. Okay. It wasn't one day. It was a process of these things coming to fruition. So, and again, we all have this tether to the other side. I call it the universe, God, our divinity, whatever you want to label that. There's no wrong way to label it, but it has your back, and it's your highest and best. And what I've learned in doing the work I do is that is comprised of, souls on the other side that used to be your relatives and ancestors. It's guides or souls that stayed behind just to help you through this human reality. And we're all getting different messages, different signs about what's, to help us kind of preempt and forewarn us or foretell, ways to move or direct that, or to take us to new ideas and inspiration. So they aren't trying to inspire all of us. But when we're cluttered in here or we're distracted out here, we don't always notice those things. So omens and signs. Omens are signs of, or something's happened, something you feel like something's coming or something's going to happen. Now, this is not bad. It could be good. It's good. And I don't see anything as bad because, again, it does, it does try to warn you when, to prepare or that something's going to be coming, and, it helps you get your ducks in a row. And sometimes it's just to get you to change directions very quickly. Okay. But the funny thing about, the signs that I, want to talk about tonight is it comes in a number of different ways. And it's usually when you're reaching some kind of a fork in the road or a bend in the road, or it's time to change direction, that the message will repeat. Okay. It comes over and over. So usually you get this little knowing in yourself going, I feel like change is coming, or something needs to change, or I just have this feeling. Okay. That is another word for getting this heads up. Okay. Because we all have that tether, to that. And, so we are divinely connected, but we have learned not to trust it. Okay. And so this is why not only do I clear up this static and give messages to people, I also leave them with tools of understanding so that they can start trusting their own knowing. Okay. So it's not about keeping you dependent. It's about making you spiritually, independent and autonomous. So because the messages and visions I get are specific to things I know or understand. Okay. So the messages you get are in ways that you would understand. Okay. So I know a lot of different symbolism, because this is part of the work I do, but I also have done this for myself for a long, long time. Excuse me. Oh, pollen. So, understanding symbolism really helps a lot too. Now, the easiest way to get symbolism, nature is a wonderful way to get a message. Okay. Because it's all around us outside. Okay. So there's different symbolism, and it has different meanings depending on what cultures it comes from as well. So animals and nature, there are a lot of cultures that utilize, nature as a symbolism. Okay. Romani people. Okay. And indigenous peoples all over, not just in the United States, have used plants and animals and those things coming into your perspective, as a sign, or, so that's one of those omens. Okay. So it was interesting. So I was during, a process of me reaching a fork in the road, which is the time of change, letting go, and deciding which way I'm going to go. Okay. So when you're in that place, they usually kind of turn up the volume on the inspiration to kind of give you a heads up going, left might be better than right. Okay. And again, when we're present and willing to look at those things and observe that, then we can make more conscious decisions, okay, about which way to go. And so paying attention to that, or learning to trust that we do have this kind of GPS that helps when needed, okay? Like I said, we're down here to make decisions, and we're down here to learn, okay? And again, the more you do, you learn real quick. That's not what we do, okay? That did not end well. So what I learned from that, okay? So this is why right now we're really reflecting on a lot of things. We're looking back, okay? Reflecting means looking back, but now I have a new perspective on those things. Now I can see that I received 1,000 messages before all that shit hit the fan, okay? And I'm like, oh my God, I was so willful, I didn't want to see it any other way than what I wanted to see it at the time. And so, yeah, you to go down kind of hard when that happens. So it was interesting during one of these times where I know what these omens and messages look like, signs. So I was dreaming about alligators. And it was interesting because alligator, when you understand the symbolism, alligator actually means, if you think about an alligator, okay, they have their eyes above the water and the rest of them is below the water. So it's about seeing things from not only this physical reality, but in this swimmy depth of creative. Water always represents creation. And so when the alligator has half of itself under the water and it takes prey, okay, it takes something, it takes it down under the water, for it to decompose a bit so that it can, eat it better. Okay. So the message in that would be, okay, before you react, okay, let's look at it from two ways. Let's look at it from this physical thing that's happening. And then how do we take that down and use that to create something new? With that awareness, right? So that wasn't my first alligator dream. Okay, so I had a dream about alligators. Then, like within a couple of days, now I've turned you guys on to a couple of tools that offer some understanding of symbolism. And one of them is Medicine Cards by Jamie Sams. Okay, she's an Indigenous teacher. Well, she was an Indigenous teacher, and she did 2 decks of cards that are on my website under products, okay? It's just a link that takes you into, Amazon or some little bookstore where you can purchase these things. So when you look at alligator, okay, like here, see all the animals? So she tells the Indigenous story of all the different animals. That one, that's funny. That was about, so ant represents patience, okay? And it's upside down, which means that, maybe we're pushing or moving too quickly. So see what I mean about the message. So once you understand the symbolism, then the universe goes, oh, Marianne's paying attention to the animals. So they start sending the messages through the symbolism I understand, okay? So, it would, so in the dream time, I was dreaming about alligators. So, within a few days, I pulled alligator, okay, as one of the cards. And I read the teaching about what that means. And I was thinking about how that was applying in this current situation that I was in. Because we don't want to be reactive. We want to respond, not react, right? So I was trying to gather some information about this from the spiritual perspective in my human situation that I was dealing with. So then, within a day or so, I was driving through the metro parks, and I was kind of just not present. Okay, I was just paying attention to the beauty of where I was at, and it was just peaceful. And as I went around one of the bends, there was this log on the side of the road that peripherally looked like an actual alligator. Okay. So that's the universe, superimposing it over that. That happens, okay? So sometimes objects will look like animals. And so that's another message that's actually in, Indigenous cultures called a wotai, an object that has the spirit of that thing in it. So it's showing itself to me. So again, I received 3 or 4 messages about this, and I'll be damned if this situation didn't come sooner than I thought. It was trying to say, okay, you're going to have to digest this. You're going to have to figure it out because, this thing is on its way. So I felt that, not necessarily a sense of urgency, but I knew that between what I was feeling, what I was seeing, and what I know spiritually to be true, that I needed to sit with this and digest it before I made a choice. And then the moment came where I had to make a choice. And so that was the message of that. So once you understand the symbolism and you understand that the universe repeats, and it doesn't always come from the same direction either. And so when that message repeats, it comes from all different directions, which is the wow part. Okay, this is the part that people get amazed by. And they'll be like, is that a sign? Yeah, that's how it works. So when it pops in your head, that's one of the messages. Okay, then somebody outside you says the same damn thing. Okay, that's a confirmation. Okay, and we're so busy being wowed by this happening that we're not listening to why are they sending me this message. Okay, and so this is where some of the classes and things that I teach are about learning how to be still and process. We're so busy ripping and running that we're not stopping and digesting like alligator what we just experienced. What do we learn from that? And then working through what we're feeling about it, and then making more concrete decisions, not based in fear, but because it's the next right thing to do for you or me, right? So that's the beauty of paying attention to signs. Now, so sometimes you'll get a message, you'll have a dream, and your inner knowing says, I should call Marianne, and then something will happen and you'll get another message. Oh, you should probably call Marianne. Okay. And then, I might call you, or we run into each other in the grocery store or whatever, but that's the universe trying to line you up with things that can help you, hear it clearer. So because I'm not emotionally attached to your situation, okay, I can remain more objective. And because of the work I do, I'm trained in all the different symbolisms and learning how to directly channel that information through language to you. I'm about clearing up that misunderstanding or static between you and your helpers, ancestors, relatives. It's very varied, but so that you hear the message clear. Okay, so I just clear up the static, and only you know what it means or what it's applying to. Now, if you need help applying that in your human situation, we can do that too. We can help you with that. But clearing up the static is empowering you, because now, like, oh, that's what they were trying to say. Yes. So you tell me about your dream. We unpack the symbolism in the dream. You're like, oh my God, I know exactly what this is about. Right. So when we're in session, sometimes I'm a confirmation for something you already heard or something you already know. It's just, we don't always trust that first input from the other side. And so you need some clarity, which we all need clarity. But it's also about having tools and learning what that means so that you going forward will know better how to interpret those messages and omens that are coming your way. Now, like I said, they're not allowed to interfere in your choices. And the more you've done this, the more you trust it, the simpler life gets, because you're not complicating it with creating, bad situations, or, it takes time to wake up and clean up the messes we've made in life. And having that spiritual guidance helps us really, learn from it and become better for it. So that when we see it outside ourselves, coming down the road, you're like, oh, I already bought one of those. Don't want that again. So we become wiser. But it's only through the doing that we become wise. So that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about. So when I'm in session with people, sometimes I'm confirming for you things that that you already heard last week, and it's a confirmation. Think of it like a confirmation for what you already know. And so, again, then I can sit with you and say, do you know where this applies? And you're like, oh, yeah. I said, well, do you need some guidance on how to maybe, holistically process or work through this to, find some new ways? But normally when I meet people, they're at that crossroad. Okay. They've experienced some big change or death or something that knocks them off the road. And these are pinnacle times of change. We talked about this last week about the cycles that we experience as humans. Now, I do workshops and classes on all these things. You're going to be seeing these regularly on my website. So we're going to be digging in a little further because it's great to have these tools because then you know what to do. So that's what we wanted to talk about. Prophecies, omens, and signs. So if you guys want to get a chance to look up the Hopi prophecy, okay, this is thousands of years old. But because of the astronomy, okay, they pinpointed the time that this roads were going to diverge. They figured that out based on astronomy, okay? And so it also coincided with prophecies that were done by the Mayans. So the Mayan calendar ended in December 21st of 2012. So there are a lot of indigenous cultures that have prophesied, okay, that this time of the world is changing. And it's really time for mankind to get back together and connected to their divinity, each other, building these communities where we all survive and thrive together, okay? And so what they're prophesying is the things that have divided us, the things that have made us separate from God, made us separate from each other. And that's the problem. Those are the problems, okay? And so we're waking up to that, and now we're looking to reconnect with our divinity. We're looking, in whatever label you put on that, okay, is that, that we are here to be stewards of the earth, and we're here to make this world better for each other, and we're here to, create a boundary to those things and people that are just doing this destructive stuff. So take a look at this Hopi prophecy is called the Fifth World of Peace. And it's very complicated. If you want to dig in and look at it, that happened December 21st of 2012 is when it really began. So, that's when, actually prior to that, I received a prophecy that was going to happen. But boy, I had no idea this is what they meant, okay? So like I said, in my simple place, I thought, oh, the world's going to awaken. Yeah, a lot of things are going to be coming down, because I kind of already saw that happening over the course of the history of my life. But boy, I did not expect it to hit the fan like it did. But we have tools for that and understanding. And so we have each other. So one day I was told this story, I think last week too. So one day I was in the bank, okay, and the teller knows who I am. And so we're standing there, and so the messengers are always going to be out of context, okay? It's just this random thing that shows up in a place that you wouldn't expect it, okay? So this is how the signs appear, okay? I'm standing inside the bank at the teller window, and a little teeny dragonfly flew and landed on the teller window between us, inside the bank. I've never seen a dragonfly inside the bank. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, right? In my mind. And she goes, does that mean something? I said, yes, actually it does. And she goes, well, what does it mean? I said, well, dragonfly represents illusion. And she got it. I don't know what, all I said was it represents illusion. And so it's revealing illusions that we might be buying into. I go, do you understand that? She goes, oh yeah, I get it. Okay, thanks for coming. And I left. Oh my God. And so that's when you look for the signs, and they just come into your awareness quite often out of context. It's like the butterfly landing in, in a specific place when you're just somewhere. So again, how many signs have you guys received, And we're so busy being amazed by the dragonfly in the teller's window, okay, that we're not going, what does this mean? What's the message? They're trying to get a hold of us, okay? They're trying to give you a sign, okay? And so we're so busy being amazed by the magical aspects of this that we're not going, okay, what does that mean? Okay? So the more symbolism the more tools you have, the better you're going to recognize the signs and go, oh yeah, okay, that's a confirmation because I got that earlier today, or I kind of had that knowing yesterday, and so here's the confirmation for it. So we always say that the first time you get that, that's the message. Okay, the second time is the confirmation. Now the third time is about, okay, the roads are diverging. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it's just funny because, that's how it works. So yes, it is amazing. So that's funny. So let's see who's here tonight. Let me put my glasses on. Oh my God. I could write a book just on signs. Okay. So Cheryl said, what do ants mean? Okay. So when we look at, just like with anything else, there's a positive and a contrary message when it comes to ant, okay? Or any animal, all right? And so, so ants represent patience, okay? If you think about ants, they're very diligent little creatures, okay? They are busy, they work together, okay? They work together. So it's funny, I actually have the story by Jamie Sams. So let me take a look at ant. I just pulled ant, and then you said ant. So was that a confirmation for something you already heard, Cheryl? So ant. There's also another book called Animal Speaks, and it's by Ted Andrews. This was another wonderful person. He broke out the meaning through all kinds of different cultures, Egyptian, all these different cultures, and what the symbolism meant. And that book is very encyclopedic. It actually breaks it out between birds, animals, lizards and reptiles, and bugs. Okay, and it's very detailed. So it's called Animal Speaks by Ted Andrews. And if you go to my products page, that book there is good too. So that way you can just look it up and go, okay, I got an ant. Okay, so patience has its rewards. Ant people have a knowing about the sweet victory at the end of the line. There's never a concern about going without. If ant has come into your awareness today, it's time to show a little trust and patience in some life situation. You may have forgotten that you will always receive that which you need at the time you need it most. If it is not on the horizon or just around the next ant hill, you may need to use some strategy. How can you put to use your power of creation until it arrives? Ant is working for the good of the whole. Are you? If you are, be assured that the whole wants the same goodness for you and that it will be provided. So that's one of the messages. That's the not the contrary aspect of ant. So ant, contrary is about when we're pushing or rushing, we're not working collectively, So yeah, that's the beauty of knowing it. So does that confirm anything for you, Cheryl? Yes. Some things going on now, right now, where you need to apply a little patience, okay, and trust. Patience means, waiting, for the right time, allowing for the divine to kind of move things around a little bit so that we can get where we're going or what we want. And so, yes, patience is an issue for sure. Hey, Cheryl, thanks for joining me. Hi, Jennifer and Rudy and Denise. Good to see you guys. Hi, Mary. Oh, hi, Katie. Thanks for coming on tonight. So let's see. So I was going to do a little channeling. If anybody, just send me a little, that you wouldn't mind that. Guys, this thing scrolls so weird when I'm online. Who was that? You know, Katie, it's funny. You've popped in my head like 3 times this week. So I find that interesting. I'm not clear why. Okay. And I actually did reach out, to you. Okay. So when people pop in my head, I don't just bring up everybody or send them a message when they pop in. Usually that tells me when people pop in my head that they're going to call me or that I'm going to, something's, we're going to meet up or they're going to call, So I just kind of know, oh, okay, cool, that's cool. I can't wait till that happens, but then I'll get something else that'll bring them into my perception again. And then again, okay, so that's when I will sometimes reach out, okay? So Katie's popped in my head like 3 times. Hold on, Katie. So there's a grandmother here who's sharing that the worry bug has bit you, okay? That's a very specific thing. So that's an old saying, okay? The worry bug. Okay, the worry bug bit you. So when we're worried about something, that's fear, okay? And when fear it clouds our vision. It clouds our emotions. And we start making more reactive, not responsive, choices, okay? So if we're worried about something, that's fear, okay? And that's lack of control, okay? So what is it that's going on that you don't feel in control of? Sometimes it's watching other people have an experience. I don't know how this applies for you, but all I know is that the worry bug, Grandma says the worry bug has bit you. Okay, but this is where we have to backpedal and go back to a place of standing in faith and trust and doing, the next right thing, not being afraid or confused or making reactive choices, okay? So that's what that means. So Grandma, she's so cute. Hold on. I can't see these comments. Head surgery, frustrating, not mobile. Oh yeah, Cheryl, I understand. That's interesting. Mary, I can't just ring up anybody. So tonight I'm trying to confirm, whatever comes in for people, I'm here to confirm that, because what I tell you, I don't know what it means, okay, most of the time, but you do, okay? So I like it to be organic. This isn't something where we can just ring up anybody we want. Especially here tonight, now we can work on that privately. But tonight, I'm just letting the universe tell me something you need to know, okay? And who and what that is, okay? So it's not always the people you expect it to be. And sometimes it's not people, it's just a collective of, wisdom, that's coming from your ancestors, my ancestors, all the people, but they're not people anymore. And they're, so that's part of the teaching, guys, if you want to join me for that. Hold on. Okay, Amanda's game. Okay, so what's coming through is so it's not words. Hold on. Okay, you need to write this down. So the universe is what we call reciprocal. Everything in nature, everything in the universe operates in a cycle or a circle, okay? This is where I unpack that word manifest. So we send out stuff and it will come back. It's guaranteed from one direction or another, okay? This is why we have to be conscious about what we're sending out. And so in your situation, I feel like you got to check your motives and the energy you're sending out, because this is a block in the road for you right now, okay? You got to look at your intent, okay? And why you're putting things into this direction, okay? Because I don't know if you're going to like the thing that manifests from that, okay? So you just have to take space and you have to say, okay, when I do the right thing, the next right things will happen. not necessarily what you expect or want, but what's best with the energy and intent that you're putting out. So you need to stop. And I feel like, again, that ant is also a message for all of us guys, where we need to be more patient. But in this case, Amanda, I feel like you need to stop because, sometimes we're pushing because we want something. Okay, we want something specific, but we're not clear with ourselves and so we're using our energy to push things forward, and that's the ant thing too. But I think what you're doing is what you want to you got to check your motives, okay? Because the universe gives you back not just what you want, but the energy you use, your intent. And I'm not saying you have a malintent or bad intent, but again, when we want what we want, okay, sometimes we're pushing or manipulating things to a certain way, but I think that you need to stop and really regroup on that one. So that's what I feel on that. So this is why when we're in session 1-on-1, it's a much more back and forth, and you can go, yes, that's going on. Okay, and then you tell me about the situation, and then we look for spiritual solutions to kind of move those things around in a different way. So anyway, so you just got to be careful with that. Because, and I'm not saying you're doing this intentionally, but know that when we're pushing, sometimes that's against the divine flow, and they're trying to get you the right thing. And so sometimes we're pushing it out of the divine flow. Okay, it just completely innocently. Okay, so check your motives and ask yourself, am I really going the right way? And then trusting the right thing to come back to you. So what did you say here? I'm sorry. I'm forcing myself to get my whole home unpacked. Oh, yeah, stop that. It's a process, okay? We're so not gentle with ourselves, guys. Trust the process. And again, some of this stuff, when you unpack your house, okay, you moved all this stuff from another place, and now you're in this new space, and I like to give it some time to, first I clear the energy, and then I say, you brought all this stuff with you. That doesn't mean you're going to keep it. Okay. It might not fit in your new environment. And so, yes, so slow down. Stop forcing it. Putting back only the things that really speak to you. The things I have in my space. Okay. I have pared down to a place about, that is much, much simpler than it was. And it was, and so again, a lot of the things that used to work don't work anymore. They don't fit. They don't, so I don't force it. And so if it's not growing corn, then it's time to, gently release those things, forward, paying them forward, and letting them go. So yeah, be gentle with yourself, Amanda. Oh my God, that's funny. That's hilarious. See what I mean? I don't know what that means, but Amanda sure does know what that meant. Yeah, stop pushing. Allow for the divine flow to happen, We don't want to clog our space up with hurry-scurry energy, Anyway, so that's what I got for tonight, guys. There are signs, signs and signals and all kinds of things that the universe does. But slowing down and being present. Educating yourself by learning some of the symbolism. So if you take the dream interpretation class, we talk about symbolism. A lot of the tools that I use in coaching, I will introduce to you so that you can buy those for yourself, like the cards by Jamie Sams that are on my website. It gives you, the tools so that you can start, really getting connected to your divine guidance and learning to trust them and yourself to create the changes that are necessary in your life and in the world, So anyway, so you guys rock. I'm so grateful for all of you. Debbie, it's good to see you here. And Sue, good to see you. Amanda, be nice to yourself, friend. Okay? Yeah. You're pushing. Don't push. It's a process. Enjoy the process. None of it has to be put away today. But yes, there are ways that we have to, start sorting. But anyway, be nice to yourself. All right, guys, I'm signing off tonight. Thank you for joining me, and book some time. Nothing's better than getting a little clarity from the universe, and then it'll give you a whole new way to look at what's going on in your world. And it's going to empower you to feel like you can make those changes because you got this whole stage crew helping you out, okay? So whether it's a session, coaching, I also have 2 channeling events coming up. Those are fun because it keeps it light in those environments. You know, everybody gets a message, but we all get to hear the messages. And there's a lot of fun and story time that comes with it too. Because, you know, we got some funny ancestors. They always make an appearance. You know, I can't just ring up anybody I want. But, yeah. You know, Mary, your family they're all waving. They love you very much. You know, but again, guys, you know, we're getting a message from them. We're just aren't recognizing what it means. So schedule some time and let's unpack that together. It's so inspirational. Yeah, I'm here to help you get the tools so that you can start walking this on your, you know, trusting your own divinity and the things that are helping you. So take a class, have a session, do some coaching, and join me at one of our events. So signing off. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Oh, by the way, the new moon is next week. So we're going to kind of, you know, wane into the new moon. And so it's wax into the new moon. Wane into the new moon. And so it slows us down and it helps us purge emotionally. Okay. So just so you know, this affects everybody in the world, not just you. Okay, so you want to pick your battles and be conscious of where people are at. You know, it's going to be a little emotionally charged because truths are always revealed at the new moon. Okay? The light is not there and it brings up everyone's emotion. Okay? And so there's a lot of feelings going on out there. So just forewarned is forearmed, right? So once you have these tools, then you know. Don't go to Walmart on a new moon. It never ends well. Okay. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. Give me a call if you want to schedule some time. 216-324-2657. Thanks so much. Keep the peace. Pray for our world. And thanks for being part of my village.